Hello, hello. You are listening to Profoundish. I am today's host, Alex Duquette. I'm with Weston Hasty today, and we're going to be talking about the art of reviews. Leaving them, reading them, and anything else we feel about them. And then very soon after that, Weston's going to be thrown into a game where he's going to be given a bunch of crazy product reviews on Amazon. But for each product, I've written my own crazy review as well. And he's going to have to guess which one is the real one. Let's get started. This is Profoundish. He snaps, and he retracts.
I don't know how to do that on mic. I started snapping for you.
Did you?
I snapped. I don't know how to retract. I'll just slowly move away from the microphone and get quieter and quieter and quieter.
When you mention the snapping, I think about like a beatnik like thing. Like he's giving this poem. Is it just like a beatnik poem? You know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, anger. There's like a guy with a bongo, and he like talks about how he's feeling, and then everyone like snaps at the end.
It's the scene from Goofy Movie 2, you know, when they're in that like that.
Yep.
I don't remember. It's like a cafe bar or whatever. They have to walk down the stairs, and bongos, and some guy's telling some poem or something. Yep. Everyone's snapping. Yeah. I know what you're saying. I want to do that one day. One day, I am going to come prepared to some kind of poetry speakery, some speakeasy for poets, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to get snapped at. That's a life goal now. I've decided. Right now.
You should. Once you're finished, like nobody knows, and then but I'm in the back, like I'm in the audience, and you go, okay, hey, and you're like snapping your fingers like at the side of your leg. But just barely, so I notice, so I can get everyone started. Like, yeah, you know. Actually, I don't think anyone says anything. It's just snapping, right?
Yeah, you just snap. Nothing needs to be said.
You're just preaching, man.
The poet said everything that needed said. If you only listened.
Well, I didn't listen. I was too busy looking at the fly that was like bouncing around from your shoulder to your forehead.
That would definitely be me.
Attention to that.
I would be the poor guy with some freaking fly in his face the entire time.
Hey Weston, do you when you go shopping, like online or whatever, do you ever really care about the reviews?
Oh God, yes.
You do care about the reviews.
Oh, I read them all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me about that.
Because you're like, you probably don't. No, if it depends on one. It depends on what I'm buying, and if I already know what I'm getting, right? So if I already know I need this, that, or the other from a brand or a retail or a seller or whatever that I already know, I'm not too worried about it. I need this thing. There's no way they can screw it up. Which there's always a way to screw it up. But anyway, then not so
right.
much. But if I'm shopping for something on an unfamiliar site or on an unfamiliar, from an unfamiliar seller, say it's Amazon, right? I know the site, but say the seller, I don't really know the seller. Maybe I don't know the product super well. I'm looking for something new that I'm not used to using for a project or something. I read the crap out of reviews. I look at specifically the 5-star and the 1-star because I want to get what everyone's raving about, and I want to get what everyone's complaining about, and if there's any consistency between the two. Because if you start to see the same thing several times, and you're like, okay, this seems to be either an issue or a constant feature, whatever the case might be. So that's what I do. I look at those, and then I'll look at some of the other ratings as well, just to get some more middling stuff. But the middling stuff, 2 to 4 stars, are usually pretty it was good, but I didn't like this one thing, or it was bad, but I didn't like this, but I did like this one thing. So usually the 5s and the 1s are the most, heaven or hell, hot or cold, the most opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know a lot of the times too, once again, it just depends on the average ratings overall, but sometimes if you're really because I've done this before, where I'm really interested in a product and I'm just not sure, but then but then like maybe there's like a bunch of good ones, but then there's only a couple negative ones. And sometimes I still want to look at those just in case. And especially if the numbers for the reviews aren't that big, because sometimes, at least the stuff I buy on Amazon, sometimes there's not that many reviews. And so everyone will count. But like there's that one negative one that has nothing to do with the product and just has to do with their personal experience. And it's like, why'd you even... Anyway, but...
One star, when I contacted Amazon about the packaging, they were rude to me. It's like, that's Amazon, not the seller. Yeah, something random where it's like, that has nothing to do with the seller.
It makes me feel bad for the sellers, too, at least in that way. It's like, that sucks, because I've seen that a lot. In fact, I work for, at my day job, one of the many hats I wear is kind of taking care of and trying to encourage our salespeople for our company to get more reviews, because that's great for small business, all businesses, and especially on Google. And we'll get reviews, and then they have nothing to do with our product and just some weird experience they had with something else that's like adjacent to our product, and it's just a pain in the butt. So dealing with that, it definitely sucks. But no, I do look at reviews too, actually, quite often. I don't know if you come across this issue. I get kind of, for me, it may come as no surprise, I get a little obsessive over it. And sometimes, like if I'm really getting into this, I want to make this purchase. And what I'll do is I'll look too much into the reviews, because there's a line. I think we all know that there's a line. And I will look too much into it, and then I'll start going through the 3s and the 4s, like the right in the middles. And that's when it gets really messy for me, and it makes it harder for me to make a decision.
Yeah, like there is definitely a point where if you read enough reviews, just in general, you can talk yourself out of basically every purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I try to do. Like, I want to look for commonalities to see what like people are complaining about the most. Like, if there is a thing wrong, I want to know what it is. And if it's something like if I need a piece of hardware or something, and there's like a cosmetic issue, I don't really care about that. If it's like a clothing, like if I'm buying clothes, which I try never to do online, because it's just, you just don't know if it's going to fit. That's usually the number one for me. If I am buying clothes, the number one negative thing I'll see is, oh, well, I ordered this size, but it came too small. Especially overseas stuff, because sizing conversions could be tricky. So that's good to know. If I'm ordering some product from, I don't know, China or something, I'd probably need to order, instead of a large, like an extra, extra large, because they think I'm massive compared to like their tiny sizes. For anyone that orders clothes online, this is just true. I'm not just being like China about this. Like, if you order for clothes from China, you're probably going to want to go up a size or two. That's just the way it is. So like, if it's something like that, it's just being an informed consumer. And then other stuff, it's like, so this product has especially the age of reviews. This is another one, actually, speaking of reviews, that you don't see appreciated often enough. You will get reviews that are like, oh, I just got this. It looks amazing. 5 stars. It's like, but does it work? And then you'll get other people that are like, I've been using this product for 3 months. Here's everything I think about it. And I'm like, oh, thank you. God, a professional.
Right, because I mean that's the whole idea, is to you already nailed it. Like, you want to be an informed consumer, and just somebody saying they like it really does give you nothing.
I've seen a review. I've seen. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I've seen a couple of reviews before on different products in my years where I've seen people review a product before they've received the product because they were excited to get the product, and I'm like, what? And that, you have to be getting paid to leave this review, right?
Yeah, right, because that is no different than what I just talked about with the negative reviews. It's the same exact idea. You know, it's just like they're passionate or excited about something. And then, I will think that sometimes. I'll go like, were they like paid to do this? Like, what's going on? Because you got to, because you can give something a 5 out of 5. That's totally fine. Like, there doesn't even have to be any caveats. But what I want to know is, kind of like you said, like, is the core functionality of this item intact? Like, is this doing what it needs? Oops.
Is it doing what I hear you.
Yeah.
Is it doing what I want it to do? Does it work? Does it look the way it's supposed to? It's a whole thing. But other than that, I don't have many issues with it. I usually, it's funny, maybe it's because I do most of my reviews or most of my shopping on Amazon, but
that's where I get most of my reviews for things I buy. Do you also do this for if you're going to a new restaurant or or any sort of establishment, I guess? Do you ever look on like Google and see the reviews for that, or do you?
That is such a good question. I never, ever, ever look at reviews for restaurants.
Really?
Ever. I never even think about. I will Google to find a restaurant, and so sometimes you'll see the star rating, and if it's like 1, then I'm going to be like, oh, okay, no. But if it's at least 3,
yeah,
I don't read the reviews. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to see rats running across the table, hopefully, right?
Unless it's requested. Yeah.
I never actually read reviews. The only thing would be the only thing I have done more research about when I'm going to a restaurant. If it's a restaurant for a cuisine that I'm not super familiar with. Like, I'm not super familiar with Thai food. I'm not super familiar with Indian food. I've had and like that stuff. I like a wide variety of food, but I'm not super familiar with it. I'm not super familiar with Caribbean food, Turkish. Like, if I'm going to a restaurant that does something weird, I'll usually want to see a menu. So I try to look at pictures of the food, like from like when people leave reviews, or they'll leave like pictures that they've had if it's on like Google reviews. So like I'll look at pictures of food. I'm like, oh, well, what kind of stuff can I expect to eat here? And then sometimes you see blurbs that are like reviews in that way. So I kind of get reviews as like a secondary consequence of me trying to see the food, but I don't go look at specifically the reviews.
I guess it's similar to me. I will look at, usually there's like 3 or 4 that are like highlighted. I will look at those if I'm in that section on my phone or whatever.
If it's in front of you.
I'm not going to. Yeah, if it's in front of me, I will take the time to read them, like even hit the read more button and finish reading it. But usually the big thing for me too is the stars. If you say 3, for me, like, I don't know, 3 is already kind of scaring me. I know I'm not picky with my restaurants. Let me tell you that, okay? I'm not picky, but I guess when it comes to looking at it, that stuff I do. The biggest thing that I do, though, is kind of what you said. I always like to look at the menu if they've got it, and then I do like to see people's pictures as well. And then there's times when there's like a restaurant, and I'm not sure how nice it is. Like this is especially an issue for Steph and I when we were kind of just first dating. Like, I didn't know how nice is this restaurant, and it's local, so I can't just go, what do you wear here? And then their website doesn't have anything because it's local, and it's just like a really just not run website. And so I'm looking in the pictures just to look in the background to, like, it'll be a picture of someone's food, but I'll look in the background of the picture to see if I see how a guy's like dressed up. I'm dead serious. I've done this multiple times.
That's so funny.
Just to get the vibe of, okay, how would you dress here? Now that doesn't happen like if I'm just going to an Applebee's, but you get what I'm saying.
You know, it's so funny. I've never, ever done that. Like, even if if I've taken someone on a date or whatever, some variation of business casual is always appropriate, basically, no matter where you go. But, like, I have never tried
that's true.
I've never tried to figure out, like, oh, am I going to be too Well, actually, you know what? To be fair, my average, like, going out to go eat someplace attire isn't super casual. Like, I'm not, I wear t-shirts for like doing things around the house or outside or whatever, but if I'm going out with like friends or people or whatever, usually the most casual I'm wearing is still some kind of Henley. At least it's got buttons, so it's still like definitely not any version of formal, but it's still not like graphic band tee or something like that.
Yeah, it's different.
Definitely not bashing that, but like, so I guess I'm never really worried about being underdressed, really. That's funny.
That has happened a couple times, just because for me it was really, I couldn't tell by the restaurant because like the prices were high and the food looked really fancy and really good. And this happened more than once where it was just like, is this semi kind of like nice looking, or is this, you need to dress? Because, it's just hard to tell. Because I was looking at those prices. I remember one particular place, like, it was expensive, and then it wasn't even that great. But I did dress right. If the end of that story ends well, I did dress the proper way, which was just kind of semi.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's what I usually use the Google stuff for. And I haven't really ever touched Yelp. Yelp's still a thing, by the way. It's still a thing.
Oh yeah.
But just not in my circles, I guess. You know,
I never use it either because I don't look at reviews. I just want some pictures of food.
No, I do know. I do know that Yelp is Apple like now. Like, so if you're using like Apple's equivalent of like Maps, and like when you know, because like on Google Maps, like we use like, I'm assuming you use Google Maps. Like if you open up a business, it'll show you the reviews and all that stuff. Well, or a restaurant. Well, on Apple Maps, I think that's what they call it. Just on Apple Maps, if you open that up, it'll show reviews too, but it's all powered by, like, it's all from Yelp.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have known that because I don't use Apple.
I can't remember how I learned that. Maybe when I worked in the phone industry, I can't remember. But yeah, that's I thought that was a little interesting thing. See, for the longest time, I didn't even know Yelp. Is Yelp just restaurants?
I think so.
Or is it like businesses too? Like, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, it might be like bars and clubs, like stuff that serves some kind of food or drink. But I think that's what categories: restaurants, shopping, nightlife, active life, beauty and spas, automotive, home services, and more. So I guess they're anything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I always knew them for food.
Right, me too, because usually if I ever saw the Yelp logo, it was because I was in a city or in a town that I'm usually not in, and I went, like, good restaurants in Atlanta or wherever I'm at, right? And then it'll always be Yelp's website. Top 10 restaurants, and they're because they're voted on by the public, which I like, so I always like to go to those and see how they're voted. But so I was going to ask you this. How often do you leave reviews, if at all?
I was trying to find. There's this website. I don't remember what it's called. I will come back to your question. There's this website. It's like, what the F do I eat? Or what the F should I eat? Or something like that. I think it has the F-bomb in it somewhere. I don't remember what it is. I can't find the website now. But it uses your location. So if you use your phone or whatever and type that into your search or whatever, it's a website that just uses your location and then just randomly chooses a place for you to eat. And I don't remember what the website is. Anyway.
It's kind of cool, though.
I know I've used it a few times. Oh, this is kind of fun. I don't remember what it's called. How often have I left a review? That's actually a good question, and not in a long time now. I wonder if I go. How do I get to my Google reviews? I have a few reviews somewhere. Is it in Maps? I don't remember how to get to my reviews. For restaurants, though, I've reviewed places, which is kind of fun. I was a part of a what did they call it? It was like a Google.
A cult?
No, it was like. Yeah, I was part of a cult. It was like a Google Guides program or something where you take pictures of locations and answer some questions or whatever, and like they'd use your information on Google and you earn points. You get it's a whole thing. I was a part of that for some places. I've got a picture I posted at some national park somewhere that's got like 40,000 views on it or something. But anyway, it's just kind of like a weird, neat, random thing I've done. But for restaurants, I don't know if I've. You know what? I have. I can think of a pub. I've reviewed a pub because I thought they had really good food, and that's the only restaurant that I can think of I've reviewed. There's probably a couple others, but I can't think of them. So not often. Let's put it that way. Not often.
Because what I was getting at was I didn't know if you were the kind of person who would only leave a review if it was really bad or if it were really good.
It's actually more or less usually if it's good. I hate leaving negative reviews because it feels like I don't know, mean. But it's actually usually more like I feel like being an influencer. I feel like being a reviewer. I'm gonna do this. It's more of a fantasy than it is actually to be helpful.
Okay, that's hilarious. That's cool. Okay, that's interesting. I can't say never. Maybe I have and I've forgotten. I cannot recall a time where I have left a review.
One?
I don't, once again, I could be just missing something, but I just don't think so. I mean, like the closest I've gotten is like back in the day when we all would use Facebook, like every minute of every day. Anytime I'd go eat something, on Facebook, like I would go on there later and say, "Everybody, go eat at this place. It's amazing." Like back then, I would do stuff like that, but not like to the general public who was like trying to get information. Now I've been tempted a couple times but only to do negative ones, which is interesting. Just because I was so upset about something. There was something that I learned thought about a long time ago, and I kind of still stick with it. And by the way, I'm kind of going to, this is the pot calling the kettle black here, because I don't want to do the negative reviews, kind of the same reason why you said, it's mean, right? But we know why they're there.
Right.
Exactly. It feels mean. We know why they're there. I used to think this back when I worked in high school, in the food industry. It was the feedback, even if it's bad, assuming your feedback is constructive and we take it in the correct way that we should, this is beneficial for everybody. You let us know what's going on. We can better our service. So next time you're here, it's a better service for you and for everybody else who comes in. I think a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll have a bad experience with something, and I'm just afraid to say anything. Even if there's opportunities, there's restaurants I've been to where there's these little cards, and you can fill out the card at the end, how was your service or whatever.
Right.
And even in those moments, even though I stand by what I just said, I still feel it just feels mean. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, Well,
especially
it's weird.
I think what it comes down to me is places where I've had a negative experience, I've usually only been to once. So if I've been to a place once, I feel bad about leaving a negative review because, what if it's an off day? Now, if everything's god awful, if everything's garbage, I've never come into it eating at a place where it's the food was rancid, this service was abysmal, it's that level of bad, almost like Gordon Ramsay throwing a fit levels of bad, right?
Right.
So usually if I've had a bad experience, the food's not good, or the place is kind of dirty. If it's something like that where it's I don't really want to come back, but it's not atrocious, I'm well, maybe it's a bad day. So that's where I'm I feel too bad to leave a negative review because I don't actually know if my experience is indicative of a normal experience.
Right. I have a feeling, and I feel the same way. I do have a feeling that I bet you a lot of people don't see it that way, because I think it's just very one-track mind kind of looking at it, because there's a lot of people, or at least a handful of people in my life who I know who are, I'll say, hey, have you been here? It's it was terrible. Don't ever go. And then they talk about their one experience that they had one time where the food wasn't great or something was cold.
Right.
It's yeah, I mean, that sucks, and I'm sorry that happened, and no, that should not have happened, but exactly what you said. Is that really going to be my experience? Now, if I've heard multiple people say it,
right,
then, okay, maybe my food's going to be cold and I shouldn't go there.
Once there's a trend, then you can start, kind of using something on that. Because I work in the food industry, and I do know that, sometimes reviews come out, and you're well, depending on the situation, sometimes there's a little bit of an issue on both sides. So it's well, the common denominator actually might be the customer here. I'm looking at the situation, and I'm I don't think it was the restaurant's fault in this situation. Again, very highly situation dependent. So sometimes that happens.
Sure.
And then other times, again, working in the food industry, sometimes I know when it's been the bad day. Oh yeah, you had a bad experience because it was an absolute shit show that day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes, I agree. Your experience should have been better. I apologize. But that's not indicative of a normal experience. So working in the food industry, I guess I'm a little more sympathetic to those situations than the average person. I'm not saying the average person shouldn't speak up. Clearly, if something's wrong, something's wrong. I'm not saying don't speak up. I'm a little more sympathetic in that regard.
I was going to ask you about that, actually, so I'm glad you brought that up. Is how important to your the higher ups above you? How important are reviews on that local level? Because I know you're a franchised out.
Yeah.
Right,
when it comes to reviews,
I'm just curious.
Yeah, when it comes to reviews, you said higher ups, it's kind of dependent on what the review is exactly. Because when you work in the food industry, there are very common reviews that you're used to seeing. On the positive side, oh, so and so did a good job making this thing, and I was really happy. Okay, cool. It was named a person, which is always awesome because then you know who to reward for doing well. But then
Yep.
Good food. I left happy. It's like, okay, cool. And then on the negative side, you get the whole like, I showed up and the food was cold, or people were slow, or whatever. There's some common ones where you're like, well, if this becomes a trend, it'll be a problem. But like a review that says, like one review like that, it's like, okay, that's not a big deal yet. The real bad ones are when they start like putting out several things at a time, or they start like naming, like if it's a negative review that names people, that gets a little bit serious, because then it's like, well, the person that while they were at the store, they were paying attention, right? So they were seeing things, they were looking for this stuff, and that's really important. So it's a case-by-case basis. When it comes to the importance of it, it just depends on what it is that's being said that's the problem. If it's people like not being hygienic and not following safety and health code, that's extremely important. Like you wouldn't believe, right? Like this is like on the level of, we got to figure out if this is like a fireable situation or what needs to happen, retrainable, etc. So like that kind of thing is extremely important. Other things, it depends on the review. In terms of the importance, it depends on what it is, and if it's something that can be fixed with immediate action or not. So it depends, and it is important. It is. We always take reviews seriously.
Sure. And I think that's good.
Unless the review's about me and it's negative, then we don't take it seriously at all, and I laugh.
Have you had one before, or more than one?
I'm not sure if I've
had.
There's a good question. In my small town area, I have had negative things said about me, but never reviewed in paper about me that have reached my superiors' ears, and upon further inspection, it's always funny when it happens to me, because it's like, I've been here for so goddamn long. Okay, right? I've been doing my job for a long time.
Right.
So 9 times out of 10, what's happened? Some kind of miscommunication. I am often, like, I'm just a very busy person. I am often doing something. Sometimes my sense of humor is dry. Sometimes a customer is not being clear about what they want, and I misunderstand what they want.
Yeah.
And I come off as like the jerk. And that's what the situation is. It's like, oh, this person was being really rude. And upon further inspection, it's like, I wasn't being rude. I had no idea. Like, literally, just blinds. I had no idea they thought I was being rude. I was being myself. It's a small town. Like, people know me. Like, complete miscommunication. Right. In which case, it's like, okay, well, I get that. I need to take that onto myself to be more clear about my communication skills. But that's an easy fix. Right, yeah, and there's no trouble there. And then there's other times where it's like, oh, someone says this about me, and we're like, that like just didn't happen. Like, I have seen that. Now, I've had positive things said about me as well, but I'm not focusing on that. My ego's big enough. I've had plenty of positive things about me spoken. I could sit here and talk about that all day, because there's just so many. But if we're focusing on the negative stuff, if there's there have been situations where it's like, it went down like this, and I'm like, it just didn't happen that way. So
see, and that's the problem. Why you, as a consumer, you got to take these with a grain of salt sometimes, because when I worked in sales, we got that all the time. So like, and I worked in, I guess I should clarify, I for those who don't know, I worked in retail sales, basically meaning there's going to be a lot of angry people, because that's just kind of the nature of how it goes in the environment that I was in. But that being said, there were so many times where we'd get reviews, and we kept an eye on those a lot. In fact, like I said, it was sales. We would get bonuses and spiffs and commissions off of reviews of like on ourselves. It was wild. But that being said, so those were very important in that old line of work I was in. But yeah, there were so many times where they were just mad about something that was out of our control, and then there were blatant lies, like. And sometimes so much to the fact where it wasn't just a miscommunication thing where they thought this happened, but they were wrong. It was literally none of this happened. And right. And then you're in this place of like, what do you do? Because like, I mean, there's ways to get these reviews taken care of and everything, but that's a long process and not easy. But it's like, what do you do though? Like, this wasn't right. Like, you can't make anything right for the customer because none of this happened.
Right.
Like, it's wild. I don't know. There's... Man, my blood's starting to boil just thinking about it, and I haven't been there in so long. Oh, terrible.
Yeah, especially
funny
if
how that works. It just comes back.
Because you have reviews that are like I'm going to call them private reviews. They're like, like surveys and stuff you can do online or whatever, where the business sees that, but it's not necessarily publicly visible. And then there's public reviews, like, Google reviews and stuff that are publicly visible. Those kinds of reviews that are lies or at least baked in some kind of lie or miscommunication, those are, to me, are the most stressful because there's very little you can do to address that, because you can't really... It's not like you can sign into Google and say, I would like to remove this review because it's false. It's like, well, then every bad restaurant ever would do that, right?
Exactly.
To every whistleblower consumer, right? So like you can't really do that. So the most stressful ones are where it's like, there's this publicly visible review and it's just not accurate, but there's nothing to be done about it. And that affects the reputation of your business. It's there. And there's just not a lot you can do about it. At least the internal ones that are like done online, that are like private surveys or whatever, at least then you can address it without like everyone seeing how terrible you are for years to come. Maybe if it was a legitimate negative review and you've addressed the problem, well, that review still exists whether you addressed it or not. You know what I mean?
True, yeah. I guess really at the end of the day, especially on the public side, if you're that business, the goal is just get as many good reviews as you can. Right?
It really
that's the
is.
Whole, that's the idea.
And that goes back to our shopping one. When
out.
you know that there's just very few reviews to go by, you take the negative ones very seriously because it's not a lot to go by. So it's like more reviews, the better, because then you can actually see those trends.
Right. Well, I'd say, I'm just peeking at the clock. I'd say that's a pretty good time. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but Weston, it was fun talking reviews with you. But when we get back, it's going to be more fun. You want to know why?
Are we doing that review game where like we have to figure out what product it is by the review?
Actually, this time you're going to know what the products are, and you're going to have to figure out which reviews are real and which ones were written by me.
Oh, that's okay. All right, I'm in.
So, will BRB.
Burb.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by Alex Duquette Medleys. I make theme song medleys, which is where I take a bunch of theme songs and mash them up into one bite-sized song. From Nickelodeon to Adult Swim, I cover it all. So, if you want to take a fun nostalgic trip, search my name, Alex Duquette, on YouTube, or go to alexduquette.net.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by Magic Man Mo, a gaming YouTube channel run by me. We stream and we do variety Let's Plays. Check out a short stream compilation to see if it's something that you're going to be into. It's a lot of fun. I made it, so I know. That's Magic Man Mo on YouTube.
Let's get back at it here because these are wild reviews that I picked out, of course. So,
of course.
Basically, what I will do here is I'll explain just in case. So, Weston, you're going to be there's 6 separate products here. Okay. Each of these products has a review that is different than, I say, an average review in some way. Maybe it's funny, maybe it's just weird, odd, off, whatever. These aren't normal reviews, but these are real reviews. But alongside of each of these, I've also got my own version of a review for each of these products. And you're going to have to tell me which one was written by me. Or which one is theirs. I don't care how you say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Now, the stakes are pretty high because these are all Amazon reviews, by the way. I don't know if I said that. These are Amazon.
Gotcha.
You have to get at least 4 of these 6 right. Okay? You have to get at least 4, not half. You have to get 4.
Okay.
Because if you don't, if you get half or less, I will sell you on Amazon and then sign in under a different account and leave a bad review.
Look,
so
I'm not even worried about that. I just want to know what my list price is.
Oh, you don't want to know your list price.
I want to know my value in your eyes.
This isn't in my eyes, okay? But I would say if I were making minimum wage, I could save up for about 3 years and then I could buy you.
That's not bad. It's not bad.
Keeping it vague.
Minimum wage.
That's not bad. I could deal with that.
That's not bad. Minimum wage is different across the country. If this were minimum wage in
oh my God.
Tennessee, which I think is In Tennessee, is it literally just the national 725? You would know. You're over there.
No, it's I think it's 15. I think it's like Illinois.
Illinois is at 13 right now. They'll be 14
13?
in January. Yeah, they're going to be up to 15 in 2025.
I don't. Okay, then we're definitely not 15. Then I know we're in the teens, so maybe it's the same. But I don't. I don't know. I don't make minimum wage, so I'm not sure. But it's wild that the federal minimum wage is still like $7.25.
Yeah, it just literally hasn't changed at all. Because some states, and you won't necessarily see it all the time, some states literally are. It's $7.25 because the national is $7.25, and they just never change it. Now, you might get paid more than that quite commonly or whatever, but it literally is $7.25 in some states. And I think it's funny that in Illinois, where I'm at, it will be 15 in 2025, more than double the national minimum. It's wild. The national minimum wage could probably be raised to, like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be crazy, but like 8. Just for posterity's sake. I mean, inflation and everything. The national could probably go up a little bit, just cause.
You'd think. I will say this: I was totally wrong, and I guess, yeah, our minimum wage in Tennessee. I went to look it up to make sure I was right or wrong. It is the federal. It's the same as federal. It's $7.25 here. Wow.
That's what I thought. The whole point of me bringing this up was that if you were making Tennessee minimum wage and could save up in 3 years, I'm offended. If you're making Illinois minimum wage, you could save up in 3 years, I feel a little bit better.
In my head, it's always been what it was when we were growing up together in Illinois, which was 8 something.
Yeah, I think it was $8.25 for the longest.
Yeah, $8.25. So I'm thinking that's still pretty low, Weston. But look at. The nice thing is that when you're cheap, a lot of people can purchase you and appreciate you. You know, like it's a wider audience.
Sure.
So look at it that way. A lot of people can afford you. All right, let's get this going now that
I'm available to the masses.
That he's available to the masses. That's right. So we got 6 products here. I think I want to start with. Okay, I'll start with this one.
Okay.
All right, Weston, I'm going to read you both of these reviews, and you have to tell me which one I wrote.
Do I get to know what the product is first?
Of course you do, yes. So This product is the Denon AKD-L1 dedicated link cable, which is now discontinued. Here is the review or one of the reviews for this link cable. Transmission of music data at rates faster than the speed of light seemed convenient until I realized I was hearing the music before I actually wanted to play it. Apparently, Denon forgot how accustomed most of us are to unidirectional time and the general laws of physics. I tried to get used to this effect, but hearing songs play before I even realized I was in the mood for them just really screwed up my preconceptions of choice and free will. I'm still having a major existential hangover. Would not purchase again. 2 stars. Here's the other review.
The first product that you pick for this would be some sort of music-related cable. Of course it would be.
Here is the other review. So this one's 4 stars. This cable stinks. Literally, it smells weird. I'm going to use it, but I felt its strange smell was worth mentioning. Other than that, the cable functions as necessary, and I have no complaints. Just that dang smell. And that one was 2 stars.
I thought you said it was 4 stars. It was the other one 4 stars?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was 4 stars. Sorry, I was looking at... Sorry, I have them both listed here.
So the first review was 4 stars, and the second one was 2?
No, first one was 2, second one was 4. I might have been backwards on what I said.
So
what I just said was correct. The first one was 2, the second one was 4.
So the smelly review is 4 stars, and it's so goddamn fast that I can't comprehend physics was only at 2 stars?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, no, you know what? That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
These reviews, man.
The smelly one really just feels like something I feel like you would say. Whereas the first one about, like, it's just too good at what it does really sounds like... Because sometimes I read a few of these on Steam where you have the parody reviews for, like, games that are, like, kind of joking, and you can get like the rewards for like this was a funny review. That's what the first one sounds like, where it's like it's someone that's giving a funny review and quite intentionally, and that makes it feel very real to me. Between the two, I have to say the real review has to be the first one about it being physics breakingly faster in music transmission.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. I think the smelly cable has to be you.
You are correct, Weston.
Yay!
I had to let you off easy on that first one. But yeah, you are correct. I thought that was really funny. And I will say, a lot of these reviews, it's just going to get probably harder and harder to blur the lines. At least I'm hoping. So I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
Let me go. We'll see, Weston says. We'll see.
We'll see how well I can read your personality. See if I can figure out what you wrote versus what some other rando wrote.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's test it. This product is the Wenger 16999 Swiss Army knife. It's like
familiar.
a giant Swiss Army knife. It's got all kinds of crap. All right. First review. This one's 3 stars. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I was looking for new props to incorporate into my sets. I figured I'd give this a try, in parentheses, seeing as it also will have uses offstage. At first, it seemed like the knife was working. I had people laughing out of their seats, but there was a problem. It didn't take long for me to figure out that the audience found the actual knife itself funny, not me. I still give it 3 stars because it's extremely versatile and the knife cuts through everything so smoothly.
I want to know in what circumstances this knife was being used in a stand-up comedy routine.
Here's the second review.
Okay.
Received this knife as a gift for my 18th birthday. Wish I'd have known what it was as soon as I touched it, because I grew a mustache and became a Navy SEAL. Mom fainted, and my dad laughed and handed me a beer. I was born a girl. -2 stars because my breasts were really nice. And that one was 3 stars.
This knife gave me irreversible and non-consensual transitioning like procedures, not surgery. This knife make me a trans person against my will. That's what I'm hearing.
Or a comedian who's using a Swiss Army knife.
I would be upset too if I had like a nice rack and touched a knife and like lost my boobs.
Sure,
that's the real disgrace here. I feel like that has to be something you invented, right? I'm trying to -2 stars because I had nice boobs. That can't be something someone else wrote in earnest.
Is that your final answer?
I feel like the real review is the stand-up comedy act, which was probably, this is what my speculation is. Someone wrote this review thinking that this review would be funny. And they're like, well, what would be a funny review? What if I was a comedian? How would a comedian write this review? And then they came up with this story about how everyone thought the knife was funnier than they are, which is probably true because they're probably not a funny person that wrote it. Which I'm really taking shots at the dark here because if you wrote this, I'm going to feel bad.
All right.
And then
so
the second one about a woman becoming a man and growing a mustache, I feel like it has to be you. I'm going final answer. That's it.
Weston, you are incorrect.
No! No!
You are incorrect. I did write that.
Oh my God.
It's okay. I'm not offended. I wasn't necessarily trying to be funny. I was just trying to make it seem like it wasn't a real review, just like the first one wasn't.
Well,
isn't that great? That's a real review. Yeah, in 2014.
For me, it was the -2 stars part for me that like put me over, because I think the first one made little enough sense that I'm like, there's no way someone wrote this. But then the second one was serious enough that like the thing that I got hung up on was that -2 stars, I lost my nice boobies, where I'm like, that can't That just can't be real. All right.
Right.
Well, I underestimated mankind.
Right. So you're 1-1 right now.
I'm 1-1. I can't miss. I can miss one more, but I can't miss two more.
How about this? How about a quicker one? Here's your number 3. All right. So this is for the product is Veet for Men Hair Removal Gel Cream. Just like in this little bottle.
Why would you want to remove hair? Oh, I guess body hair. I was imagining like
Trust
the opposite
me,
of
I
like
can tell you why
Rogaine,
you'd
right?
want to remove hair. Okay, I'm a hairy son of a gun. In fact, once I saw this, I thought, should I look into this? I'm not gonna, but I thought about it. All right. First review. This was 5 stars. Makes my farts sound louder. The hair must have acted as an interlocking silencer. I give this a big thumbs up, 5 out of 5.
Oh, for
right.
butt hair, this makes sense now.
All right, so there's 1. And then the next one. This one's 2 stars. The back of the bottle says to test the gel cream's effectiveness somewhere that it's not usually seen by anyone. Well, I'm a nudist, so I returned it. And it was 2 stars out of 5.
One, listen, everybody. Be proud of your hair. Let it grow. Be the bush you were meant to be. All right?
God. Be the bush you were meant to be. Thank you for saying that.
just to put that.
I feel like Weston
there.
would. I feel like you were talking to me for a moment there, even if you weren't. I felt it in my soul because I'm so hairy and I hate it, and you know it.
I'm a fairly hairy guy too, but I think my hair doesn't come in as coarse. I feel
Mine
like
is coarse and actually kind of like it's like a light brown. My body hair is not red.
I can't say that I've seen you stark naked, but I feel like you have coarser hair than I do. I've got pretty fine hair.
Well, I don't like it. I wish I had fine hair.
I feel like I want to say the nudist one has to be yours. Because they're both brief, but there's something about it that feels like, well, it said I should do this, and I couldn't, so I guess I couldn't. Just feels like you more than I removed my body hair, and now my farts are, what was it? My farts are silent now?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I feel like someone would write that, where it's like, I was using this product, and I had unforeseen circumstances. That's what I want to say.
Okay, so that is your final answer.
That's what I want to say. I'm going to say final answer. The real review is the silent farts, and the fake review written by you is the nudist one.
Weston, you are correct. Good job.
Yeah!
Good job.
Yeah! That's
good.
That's the way I'm approaching this. Is that I'm not trying to figure out what the real review is. I'm approaching it like, what would you write? That's how I'm approaching this.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on here to. I have these out of order. Okay. Let's move on to this next product here. You're doing well right now. You've got 2 and you've got 1 incorrect. This next product is a children's book called "Where is Baby's Belly Button?"
Okay.
And it's just a picture of like this little cartoon baby lifting up its shirt just a little bit, and you see its belly button.
I feel like this book is probably wildly unnecessary.
Well, let's see what people say about it. So this first review is 1 star for "Where is Baby's Belly Button?"
Okay.
This book is completely misleading. The entire plot revolves around finding baby's belly button. The title makes this much clear from the beginning. However, there is no mystery. There is no twist. Baby's belly button is right where it's supposed to be, on baby's stomach. Right where it clearly shows you, it's on the cover of the book. This plot is a complete mess as a result of its reliance on the mystery of where the belly button is. Everything falls apart the second you realize that the belly button was in plain sight all along. There is no conflict. There is no character development. And there is scarcely any plot. Whoever wrote this book must have a serious error in judgment, because you would have to be an infant to not immediately understand where baby's belly button is. This is one of the worst pieces of literature I have ever read. And once again, that was 1 star.
Did I write this?
Here is the other
sounds
review.
like exactly my problem with it. When I said this book sounds wildly unnecessary, this sounds like every single point I could have made.
Here is the other review. And this is 5 stars.
Okay.
This is one of the greatest pieces of literature, nay, works of art, that I've ever had the privilege of reading. It manages to maintain a simplistic plot, all while conveying a momentous aspect of the human experience, finding our belly buttons. There's a subtle genius behind the simple words. Just incredible. I would recommend this to children and adults alike. It may sound crazy, but I think we all could take something from Where is Baby's Belly Button? Whether it be a way to reflect on our distant past, a way to entertain our young children, or maybe even some insight into finding our own belly buttons. I cannot recommend this book enough.
So that one was definitely yours. And the first one had to definitely be mine. Because I feel like that, I'm still stuck on, like, that's like every point, like that first review about the 1 stars. Like, I don't know what's in the, I don't know what would be in the book. Like, is the book 1 page long? Like, a children's book. I should write children's books. This is what I should do. Because they're short and they're easy and you just need an illustrator. Like, it's got to be like 30 pages of like different babies and different belly buttons, and each freaking sentence is like, there it is, with a giant arrow pointing at the freaking belly button, and then you read it to your kid. It's like half a year old, and they've got funny pictures, and you turn the page, and you just go, there it is, and then you point at the picture, and then you poke the belly, your baby's belly. Right? Like, that's got to be the entirety of the book. It seems so wildly stupid. I have to go with, if there's any sanity left in this world, that the first review is a real review of someone like critiquing the book as if it were like a real to be critiqued book, not just some nonsense kids book that haha no one cares, it's for kids, because god darn it, people do care. And the second one was you writing a review saying, how can I make this book sound amazing, even though clearly from the get-go, we already know it can't. It just can't be.
So, is that a confirmation in there?
That's a confirmation. The first review was written by me on a different timeline, but the second review was yours.
You are correct.
I better be.
This one is what made me think to do this, because I loved that review. I just thought the fact that somebody took the time to actually review this book, I just thought that was so funny to me.
That was like, you were reading that. I'm like, this is like point by point what I'm like imagining this book to be. Like, there is no mystery, because you told me what the cover looked like, right? I'm like, there's no mystery here. What do you need to read a book to find out? It's there. Where's your belly button? Frickin' on your belly.
Well, at first, exactly. At first, I thought, that's the thing. It's like, at first I thought that, like, were they actually serious about this? Until the very end, when they said you'd have to be an infant to not immediately understand this. That's when I realized, okay, so they're in on the joke here. But either way, I thought that was good, and I thought, it'd be funny to do like the opposite. All right. So good job, Weston. You need to get one more, and then you've won. We'll do both for good measure.
If you pulled the wool over my eyes and were like, no, the first one was mine. If you were like, the first one was written by Alex, the second one was not, I was just gonna throw my hands up and say, I don't know what's real anymore. I'm back to that physics review where I don't know how physics works anymore.
Right. Okay. We got 2 more here. I'm going to let you pick the product, and then you know which ones you can look forward to after.
I want to pick like a set of collectible mugs that are like really niche and specifically themed towards like small jars.
So you said mugs, that's plural. I'm going to do the thing that's, in a way, plural. Perfect. All right. So these are Hulk hands.
Oh, I used to have the Hulk hands.
Me too. Yep. Fun
I
times.
probably wrote this review.
I guess we'll see about that. We'll see. All right. This first one is... I was about to tell you what it was. All right. This first one is 5 stars.
Okay.
I was trying to complete my Shrek costume for Halloween and came across these. I immediately wanted to be the Hulk instead of Shrek. Why didn't I think of that before? Well, it felt like it was too late because I already spent like $90 on the rest of my Shrek outfit, and I didn't want to deal with returning them. But these...
my God.
Are you okay?
I am choking and dying,
Okay.
but I'm laughing at that.
Okay.
I already spent $90 on Shrek, but now I want to be the Hulk.
I know. But these Hulk hands kept roping me back in, so I caved and bought them anyway. After reading this review back, I'm not sure why I even left this to begin with, but I already typed it, so what the heck. Thanks for reading. And that was 5 stars.
God, I hope that's the real one.
Is,
I hope that's the real one.
Here's the other review. 2 stars. I got these in the... God, I'm getting old.
Well, you're getting old. We just did a whole episode about me being old.
I know. All right, here we go. I got these in the mail. It was the only present I wanted, that's in parentheses, and wanted to use them immediately. You see, every day when I walk to school, these 2 guys named Ronald and Chester push me on the ground and call me names and say I'm no good. Then they always rip up my homework and take every single one of my pens and pencils away. One time they made me eat a whole pencil and my mouth was bleeding for 2 days. If I say stop, they punch me in the tummy. I have to borrow a pen in class and the teacher always says, Etchison, why ain't you got a pen? This is school. Where'd you think you were coming today? Every day. When I got the Hulk hands, I decided to take matters into my own, or should I say Hulk's hands. I walked to school with these on, hidden behind my back. When the 2 guys came up to me, I pulled them out and said, I think 2 butt munches owe this guy some pencils. I started waving my hands in windmill style. Punches and I hit... I just started waving my hands, windmill-style punches, and I hit Ronald in the chest, but then Chester stabbed me in the leg with a knife, and they ran off. Now I'm in the hospital because I didn't tell anyone for too long, and I got infected. My parents are really mad at me. I hate college. 2 stars.
College. It should have been like, you're like in 3rd grade. Here's my thing. I really want the first one to be true, and I really feel like the second one sounds like a Jam and Chat story. Like, tell me that the second one is not something that you would have just come up with on the fly for a Jam and Chat. Someone's like, you're like, I need a title for a song, and someone's like, my Hulk hands saved me, but also got me in trouble in college. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, right? You said butt munch, and I'm like, there's no way someone wrote butt munch in an Amazon review. Surely. I'm staking my life and a fat stake on the fact that the first review is the real review, and the second incredibly elaborate review is just some improv you wrote preparing for a Jam and Chat.
Is that your final answer?
That's it.
You are incorrect!
No, you have to be full of crap! You have to be full of nonsense!
I promise you, I wrote the first one about the Shrek thing.
Oh my god, that one makes so much more sense, though.
I know. This was actually one of my least confident ones that I thought you would get. That makes me happy.
Oh my god, no. The whirlwind punches the Chester and whatever the other kid's name was. There were like too many details. They all sounded like something you could have come up with.
I know.
They really did. They sounded really close to something you would have just come up with on the fly.
Now that the dust has settled, I will say that does sound a lot like a Jam and Chat song plot.
Right? That's what I was thinking. You were halfway, like probably, I didn't know it was halfway yet. You were halfway through that review. I'm like, this is a Jam and Chat.
So, Weston, you have to get this last product right to win.
All right. I definitely didn't do that on purpose to make it dramatic.
Well,
I'm going to just say that to put just the nugget of doubt in everyone's mind. Like, did Weston 4D chess this intentionally? Did he throw that last question just to make it exciting? The world may never know.
But you already said, so the world does know.
I didn't say anything. I might have done it.
You said you'd... Oh, God, and I can't go back in time to find out. You delete your audio file so you never send it to me. I'll just never really know.
I'll edit the audio file, and you're like, when did we start talking about aliens halfway through this episode?
All right, Weston. Okay. We got one more product here, and this product is that, it was on the internet for a long time. It's the horse head mask.
Oh, the classic, the horse head mask.
Okay. Here we go. First review. When I turned state's witness, oh, by the way, this is 5 stars.
Okay.
When I turned state's witness, they didn't have enough money to put me in the witness protection program, so they bought me this mask and gave me a list of suggested places to move.
God,
Since then, I've lived my life in peace and safety, knowing that my old identity is forever obscured by this life-saving item. Once again, that was 5 stars. All right.
Okay.
Next review. This one is 3 stars. I bought this for my wife as part of an inside joke. I wanted to surprise her, so I hid it behind our shed with the mask barely peeking around the corner. As she was approaching it, she thought it was a real horse and was getting really excited. Needless to say, she was disappointed that it was fake, and now she wants to take horseback riding lessons. In parentheses, guess who's paying for those? Also, not to mention, while she was out there, my wife looked in the shed and saw how messy and unorganized it was, and now I have to clean it. Moral of the story, don't get married. 3 stars for the mask.
True sage advice right there at the end. Just don't get married. Just be a player. Just roam the fields with you and your horse mask.
Keeping the game.
Yeah, keeping the game, dude. Oh, God, this one... The first one is kind of short and, straightforward. The second one is kind of elaborate. My gut wants to tell me that the shorter one is the real one, and the elaborate one is one that you made up, like in a jam and chat or something. This one sounds less jam and chatty, but it still sounds elaborate. That's what my gut tells me. But my gut was wrong last time, so now I'm a little unsure of myself.
I like the timbre of your voice right now. It's wrong last night. It's sure. Yeah, I like it. Sorry. Go on.
I like that you said timbre. I hear that on YouTube sometimes when people talk about music and they say timbre, and it's like that word's not pronounced that way. I know it should be, but it's not.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it, but it's not.
I literally had that come up. I was watching a YouTube video 2 or 3 days ago, and someone said something about a timbre of your voice, and I'm like, no, it's timbre. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it's timbre.
Good job. It is definitely timbre. Yep. Just one of those things.
One of those things that it's the if you know, you know.
Exactly.
God, is it the witness protection program? Is that one the real one, or is it my horse head was sticking out from the corner of the shed rather, and convinced my wife that she needed horse riding lessons and then also to clean the shed? There's a lot going on in that story.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on in a lot of those reviews. And
now I'm trying to decide, is that too much than you would have come up with? So this is what I'm imagining. If you read, say the first one was real, you read the one about the witness protection program, and you're like, okay, I need to create a review that is similar to this one in the sense of craziness or whatever to be competitive. Would you have come up with that wild story about I created this as a joke? I bought this horse head as a joke. My wife now wants lessons, and also I need to clean my shed. Would you have come up with all of that based on the first review? Or vice versa? Would you have read this wild story about needing lessons and then said, "Oh, I got to create a similar review. Oh yeah, I the government gave this to me to protect my identity. It worked. 5 stars." You know what I'm saying? I think...
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Everyone at home is waiting with bated breath, and they're like, Weston, just freaking guess. I think you added details. I'm going with my gut on this one, and it's going to be wrong, and I'm going to be upset. I think the witness protection program is real, and then you came up with a story and somehow needed to make it make sense, so you had to add details to it, and so the second one is yours.
Final answer?
God, I don't want to be wrong. This is the last one. Yes, final answer.
Weston.
I lost, didn't I?
You're correct.
I'm correct!
No,
yes!
You're correct.
Yes! I'm actually really excited
You
about
are
this.
correct. You were bouncing back and forth, but you got there. It's funny because I read that review, like they're on the witness protection program, or they didn't, so they just gave him that mask instead. And I thought, that's not funny to me. And then I thought, I just want to make this a story about this husband who's mad that his wife. I don't know. I thought of it. I actually wasn't adding details. I just kind of had the idea in general, and I thought he's gonna get mad because she saw the shed. She's gonna have to clean it, and I added all that there at the end. I just thought that was funny that don't get married, because there's reviews like that on there that are just completely like nothing to do with the product by the end of it. So,
that's
good
great.
job, Weston. Good job.
I'm just really good at figuring out what's
struggle
real
in that
and
last one.
what's not real. There was struggle. I was really trying to, like, from every angle I possibly could, because it was neck and neck. I needed to get this one right or I'd lose. So I was trying to take it seriously. I was looking from every angle, every way you could have possibly invented either one. I was dissecting this hard.
That was
man.
good.
I was going into forensics.
I'm glad. Yeah, you were digging deep. Well, it paid off. You won. You will not be sold on Amazon today.
You're darn
not
right.
Not this time.
If there's anyone that's going to sell my body, it's me. Wait, what?
And I already am.
It already am.
Amazon.com/Weston's Body Surprise.
Onlyfans.com/Weston Hasty.
I still like, but that's part of the URL. So it's Amazon.com/Bodies Weston Surprise OnlyFans. That's like this long.
It's a very long, complicated address. You really can't get to it easily. I really don't want anyone doing it.
But it's there. Weston, that was a ton of fun. We have to go, but where can people find you on the internet?
Right here. You can find me. I've got a website, WestonHasty. Yeah, right here. WestonHasty.com has all of my things on it. Check that out. It's a landing page. You can go to my different things. In particular, if you like gaming stuff, it's Magic Man Mo on YouTube. If you like poetry stuff, it's HastylyMadeDecision.com. If you just want to say hi to me on Twitter, it's at Weston Hasty.
Definitely check out his stuff. You can find me, my landing page is alexduquette.net. I don't do a lot of gaming stuff, but I do a lot of music stuff. So if you're interested in some original music, I do that. You can listen to my album actually right there. It's called Songs from Sangamon Street. My original music is also available everywhere you'd usually get it. So Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. I also do medleys, so basically I take little bits and pieces of various TV show theme songs, but I combine them all together into one mega song. It's a lot of fun, so make sure you check that out, too. In terms of Profoundish, you're, of course, listening here, but you can listen everywhere, literally everywhere. I mean it. There's not a single place where you can't.
Well, except for
right,
over
Weston?
there.
Except for over there. You cannot listen to us over there, but that's like one exception. No, but you really can listen to us to a lot of the major, podcast platforms, YouTube, of course. And one thing that we would love to encourage you to do is to continue the conversation with us. So a lot of times on Spotify, we'll leave like a little question. Feel free to answer that. We can always get in a conversation there or in the comments on YouTube. And while you're on those places, definitely subscribe, rate, leave the review. I will say, Weston, I don't know if you know this, but on Spotify, we currently have a handful, actually, not just like a couple, but we have a handful of 5-star reviews on Spotify.
Holy yeah! We need 2 handfuls.
I know!
Holy crap!
I would hear, honestly, it barely goes over 1 handful, but yes, it's like a handful and a half. Either way, we're super excited about that. Continue that. That helps our show grow. get to the right people, to the right ears who are interested in what we would do. So continue to leave those ratings. That goes a long way. If you want to hear Weston react like that again, leave us more reviews.
I really hope somebody out there was like starting to tune out, and then I just like lost my mind a second ago.
Holy! It's like, I don't like the timbre of his voice anymore.
Really woke somebody up.
But that's all for now, and I'm going to close it out like Weston does. Until next time,
wash your butt cheeks.
Wash your cheeks.
Wash your cheeks.
Actually, really, though, do that. Look, we all know you need to clean in between them, but clean outside of it, too.
Next time you're in the shower, get really in between your toes. A lot of people, like, don't wash their feet, you know? Like, they're like, oh, the soap will get to it. But, like, really get in there, you know? They deserve it.
If I can be frank, I definitely like wash my feet, but I do not do between the toes like I should. I just kind of do a quick and move on.
Like really get like around the toenail. You know what I mean? Like get the like rag if you use a rag or the soap bar or whatever you use. Like really get in there. You know?
Just dig in there.
Just sit down in the shower. Just fully go whole hog on your feet.
If you could, please send your feet results before and after at Profoundish on Twitter.
At Profoundish Pod on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram.
This is our scheme to slowly
acquire foot pictures for foot fetishes that we can sell on the black market.
Oh my gosh! All right, everybody.
This went in a weird direction. Do what you want, what you will.
All right, that's it. See ya.
Bye. Unless